This is Syke-O from S.I.D Horror Review. I want to take it down a little bit, get low for the little kids out there. This is something special to my heart because, you know, Syke-O, you know, I really love the kids. You know what I'm saying?
I love the kids. I love them kids, boy.
So this is a list that I compiled that if your kids already like horror movies and you're just trying to find some things for them to watch that's not too overly with adult content, which I substitute that word for, you know, you want something a little scary for the kids you want to watch with the family, this is a perfect list of top 15 movies that I have for you.
Do you scare easily? Do you have nightmares? Do shadows on the wall frighten you?
Warning, you know your kids better than I do. So what I tend to do is I always watch movies first before I watch it with my kids to see if I want to fast forward through things, if it's something I might not want them to see. But nothing on this list is too overboard with anything. The most stuff on this list we'll have is language. So if you're a parent that's sensitive for his language, it's not going to be that many films that you'll watch that are scary. I'm pretty sure y'all good with violence because horror movies have violence. But none of these movies have violence towards other people. It's mostly violence towards monsters, ghosts, etc. So you don't have to worry too much about violence of different people. So number 15. Number 15 is the Willys. It's more of a Tales from the Crypt anthology film in the early 90s. Basically, what they're trying to do is three kids are trying to outdo each other and tell each other scary and crazy stories. So you have a story from a kid that hates flies or likes messing with flies to a woman eating a rat instead of chicken to a monster in a bathroom, a school bathroom. But the good that the Willys has is that each of the stories tell a little lesson, or I should say teach a little lesson, from not being a bully to having a good diet in a way. And you'll see it when you watch the film. The only negative in this film is bad words. It has bad language throughout the movie, but not overly bad. It's overall good film. My age range for this to start off, again, if your kids already like horror movies, anywhere from 6 to 8, you know, and up. Number 14 on this list is The Gate. The Gate is a movie about what happens when you leave your kids at home for the weekend with rock and roll music and nothing to do. They get a tree removed from their backyard and apparently it leaves a big hole. But unfortunately in that hole are these demons. But they're not scary demons, nothing from like Evil Dead or anything like that nature. The kids end up playing around with rock and roll music. They do a spell and they raise these demons out of the ground and attack the kids. Now, good thing about this film is that the demons are like Keebler elves.
We do it magically.
Except making cookies, they're trying to bite you. Good about The Gate is that there's not a lot of blood and gore. The bad is language. So you got some language throughout. So you got about 4 or 5 bad words, I believe, in the whole movie. My minimum age with this will probably be 8 or 9 and up. Number 13 on this list is Cynical's favorite film of all time, The Birds. I will drop a more in-depth link to that review we did on that film if you would like. Don't know if it's kid friendly, but for you adults, if you want to get a little more info about The Birds. The film overall is very kid friendly. Birds attacking a small California town. The good on this film is that even though it's 1963, it kind of holds up well as far as storytelling, but it starts off a little slow is what I would say. So if you got kids, they're probably not going to be interested in the first 30 minutes or so. I would definitely just pick it up from the girl's birthday party. That's where it basically takes off and all the birds go crazy. The good on this film is that it's a thriller for the whole family. There's a few jump scares in the film, so if your kids like jump scares or you want to try to scare them a little bit, there's some jump scares. Bad is that the first 30 minutes of the film is boring, unless your kids like love stories. Number 12 is Arachnophobia. Who doesn't like creepy crawlers? It's about a poisonous spider, a rare poisonous spider from Venezuela, goes to a small town, breeds with the spiders, local spiders there, and make these super spiders, and basically attack the small town. Good thing about this film is that it shows a good family dynamic, family working together to get the job done. The bad is if your family doesn't like insects, this movie's going to get to them. It's very crazy. So I would say the minimum age for this would probably be, I don't know how your kids are. If your kids play with spiders now, then this movie probably would be a nothing to them. But if your kids don't like spiders, you want them at least to be 9, 10. Number 11 is The Sixth Sense. Now this film is a scary film, but it's not a lot of violence. This film is about a child who sees ghosts, and he gets help from a child psychologist to work through that. The movie has good qualities because there are plenty of jump scares, but like I said, it's not a very violent film at all. It has one violent scene. The good is also that the kids learn to face their fears, because he starts off, scared and everything. Then as he's getting help from his child psychologist, they learn to help work together and to get him to face his fears. The bad is that this film is scarier than some rated R films out there. But if your kids can handle it, they will be rewarded with an excellent, great story and great film. So I would recommend that you start this off at age 10 or above. Number 10 is Coraline. It's the first animated film on the list, and it's an excellent film. It's about a girl exploring her beautiful, big, new house. Maybe not beautiful, it's a little scary. She finds a secret door. She enters the secret door, then finds out everything exactly the same, but better, supposedly. So she goes back and forth because she has an other family, what she calls her other mother, other father, and then she has a real mother and father on the other side in the real world. So she goes back and forth until she realizes that the other family with her other mother is trying to keep her forever. It's good that it's a film that the whole family can watch. Some jump scares, a little bit of scary things, but no violence at all. No blood, no gore. The negative is, I really don't have nothing negative to say about this film. Number 9 is I Am Legend, a Will Smith movie. And who doesn't love Will Smith? He plays a scientist who is trying to fight this disease that turns the human race into basically vampire zombies. It has a lot of jump scares in it. The good is that it's very mild language. Like I said, plenty of jump scares. Shows you how great dogs can be as pets. And also shows your kids that, hey, it sucks to be in the world by yourself. The only negative thing in this film, I have to say, is there are sad moments. Other than that, it's a great movie for the whole family. I would definitely say 8 and up. Number 8 is World War Z. Yes, it's kind of similar to I Am Legend that we just passed. Just a tiny bit. But this film is a zombie film. And to be honest with you, how many good zombie films can you watch with your family? Most are rated R. And they do an excellent job with jump scares and making everything scary. But all the blood and gore is basically off screen. So your kids won't see anything too graphic or anything of that nature. There's violence, but the violence is towards zombies, so it's not a big deal. It's monsters. Number 7 on this list is the one, the only, Ghostbusters. Yes, Ghostbusters number 7. It's actually the first film that I put my daughter on, my oldest child, and made her fall in love with horror movies. Now, I kind of combined Ghostbusters 1 and 2 together in this rating. 1 being more scarier than the second, but the second being more fun. So like after your kids and family learn about the Ghostbusters, they'll enjoy themselves with Ghostbusters 2. Now, like I said, everybody loves Ghostbusters. Well, maybe except for the female one.
That's okay. We don't have to talk about that.
The movie is about ghosts running wild in New York City. It's basically the same premise in the first 2 films. Thank God they're making a part 3. Hopefully it's good. This film, I will say, is the highest adult content of every film on this list. And I'm talking about the first one. The second one doesn't really have any of this, so you're kind of good. But the first one, there's a lot of innuendos, and a lot of it flies over most young kids' heads. When you get to the age about 12, 13, they're going to probably start picking up on some things. So I would watch this film, and maybe if it's some, certain things you don't want your kids to be on, just fast forward it, skip it. There's language as well, would be a bad thing. There's some strong language in this film, not throughout, but chopped up in there. What I always do with my kids is I would just mute it and be like, I cough. You didn't hear the bad word. Number 6 on my list is basically a movie that 75% of people probably never even heard of before. It's called Fear of the Dark. And it plays on most kids' fear, or basically everybody's fear, at least for some time in their life, is the dark. It's about monsters that only come out in the dark. The movie is an excellent movie. I almost consider it a classic. And the reason being because it's so scary, but it's virtually no blood, no violence, 4 or 5 bad words at the most. But it's scary as crap for all your kids. So they definitely push the envelope, but again, without violence. So I would tell you more, but I don't want to give away the film. But it's an excellent film for what happens in it. It does a good job. I think the film is great and should get a lot more love as other movies that are on this list. So go check it out, Fear of the Dark. Number 5 is the one and only R-rated film on this list. Oh, R-rated film for kids' movies?
What? How?
Aliens. Alright, so Aliens is a classic sci-fi masterpiece. So it's rated R, but it's rated R for violence and language. So the language aspect is really not that bad. It's some bad language in very key parts of the film, but it's not like scattered throughout. There's no adult content, so you don't have to worry about that, which is very important, I think. I think I hold that over violence as my kids. I don't want my kids to see adult content. Action, the whole movie, you're on the edge of your seat. You care about the characters. The film is basically about them trying to check on a civilization. They're building on a planet and they haven't heard from them. And they go check on them and find out that these xenomorphs, aliens, are basically taking over. You care about the characters. Every single character you care about, your kids will be invested in them. Also, it shows you that it's good people in the world. It shows you there's bad people in the world. And, you can't trust every single person. The bad in the film is that a lot of people die in this film. You're going to be on the edge of your seat. They're going to be scared. They're going to be terrified and want everybody to make it. So that would be the bad. And not everybody's going to make it in this film. So that's a negative. This is definitely, I would say, again, probably 9, 10 and up, depending on how your kids can handle it. But it's a great action film, sci-fi film, classic masterpiece. Number 4 film on our list is the newest film, which is Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. So, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark is about a girl who finds a book of scary stories, and they end up being about her friends. It kind of writes itself. She reads them, they come true. They do a great job of pushing the envelope, so that's the good. The good is they push the envelope as far as they can by still keeping it PG-13, so you don't see any blood, really. You don't see any gore. All that stuff is done off screen, but the scary elements are still there. Anybody 15 years or younger would think this is like one of the scariest movies ever. Plenty of jump scares, excellent on what they did. They did a great job with that. So the bad is only that it is scary to younger kids. It's going to freak them out. They have very good scary characters. So like I said, they push the envelope back, but they don't ever cross it. So if your kids like scary films already, they're used to that, they'll love this film. They did a great job. Number 3 on this list is one of my favorite movies. I love this movie since I was a little kid. It's called The Monster Squad. This film is basically about little kids fighting classic Universal horror monsters, icons back in the day, like Dracula, the Mummy, the Wolfman, Frankenstein, all of that. And it does a great job of balancing scary, action, comedy, all together. Another great thing about this film is that it's not boring at all. It gets your attention, it grabs it, and it holds your attention the whole way. So that's an excellent thing about this film. You care about the characters because they're kids, so your kids will care about them because they'll see themselves in those kids. So now we got the bad parts, the negative parts on this film. You know, there are bad words in the film, but it's not consistently bad, but they do say bad words. Also, you're gonna have to explain what a virgin is, because one of the parts of the story is that they need a virgin to read this text to defeat the monsters. So I just basically told my kids it was somebody who wasn't married. So you can tell them what it is, you can tell them not what it is. But that's about it. Also, there's a peeping Tom scene, but nothing is shown. It's just about a guy, he's looking at one of his best friend's sister. The only reason that it's number 3, it knocks it down, is just because of that negatives. Like, that's the only reason why it knocked it down, but it's a perfect film. Number 2 on this list is a cult classic film, which is Tremors. Everybody loves Tremors. It's a cheesy B movie, but everybody loves it. And it also has Kevin Bacon in it. And who hates Kevin Bacon? He does a great job in his films. The movie is basically about a large worm monsters that's under the ground that attack people. Everybody can watch it. There's no super blood and guts. You know, there has some blood, but it's nothing over the top for any kids. They do a great job of showing about teamwork. You care about the characters, so that's a good thing. It does a great job of being scary a little bit, but nothing that you give your kids nightmares. The bad is their mild language. There's a couple of cuss words, nothing too bad. Also, people die in the film, so not everybody's going to make it in the film. But other than that, it's a great classic film. I definitely will recommend. Number 1 is...
It's a tie. It's a tie.
Up, we have a tie. Yeah, I can't believe it. It's actually a tie. These last 2 films, I just couldn't put one over the other. They're both classics, but they're classics in different ways. You got One Direction that is a perfect gateway film to get your kids into horror, and then you have another direction that, after they already love horror, that's scary but not be too much blood and guts. So 1B is the classic Gremlins, which you probably could have figured out was going to make this list. Everybody loves Gremlins. It's a perfect gateway film. Father gets his kids an animal, and when you get the animal wet, a mogwai is the name of the animal. When you get the animal wet, it basically, that's how it breeds, and it creates evil versions of him, and they take over a small town and they go crazy. But it's jump scares, it's blood, but not too much, very minor on the blood. It's funny, you even like the bad Gremlins, you even like them because they're funny. You love the film. There's plenty of jump scares, and also has Gizmo, which is an icon that everybody loves. Gizmo. The only bad in the film is the language, sprinkled in like bad language, but nothing too over dramatic that will mess the film up. Number 1A is the one, the only, Poltergeist. Yes, Poltergeist is not your gateway film. Your kids have to already like to be scared and like scary movies before they watch this. But if they do, they'll love this film. And I coupled this one with the second one because I believe the second one is a little scarier than the first. They're both one the same, but the second one had the evil dude on it. He just looked scary, regular. But the first movie is about family get terrorized by multiple ghosts, which is a poltergeist, in their home, and they're trying to kidnap the young girl Caroline. And it's a great cult film, awesome film. So it definitely has plenty of jump scares, and it plays on the fears that even you had as a kid. So it's a perfect film to get kids to be scared and get under their skin. You care about the characters, which is a good thing. You care about them. You want to see them succeed. You want to see everyone survive. Perfect Halloween movie. It's a perfect Halloween movie that you'll love, that comes on every Halloween. Alright, the bad in the film is that it could be a little cheesy for some older kids. They also smoke, it's one scene where they smoke marijuana. Just the parents smoke in the room. It's only like 30 seconds in the film, but they do that. Classic film. Gets a survive rating. Basically almost every film in this list got a survive rating from us.